You're working hard every day but still feel like you're running in place. This message is for you. Maybe your income has gone up, but your peace of mind hasn't. Maybe you're busy, exhausted, and still wondering why financial freedom feels so far away. Let me tell you something real. Most people are taught how to make money, but almost no one is taught how to build wealth. There's a huge difference. One keeps you alive today. The other sets you free tomorrow. In the next few minutes, you're going to hear simple truths that can change how you think about money forever. These aren't quick hacks or overnight fantasies. These are rules the wealthy live by, whether they talk about them or not. If you're tired of chasing paychecks, tired of starting over every month, and tired of feeling like your future is always one day away, stay with me till the end of this video. One idea you hear today could save you years of struggle and put you on a completely different path. Wealth is built by owning assets, not by chasing paychecks. Means understanding that money created from ownership grows beyond the limits of time and physical effort, while money earned only from labor is always tied to how many hours you can give. A paycheck depends on your presence, your energy, your health, and the permission of an employer or client. So the moment you stop working, the flow of income slows or completely stops, which keeps many people trapped in a cycle of constant effort with little long-term security. Assets, on the other hand, are things that produce value repeatedly after the initial work or investment is done, such as a business system, a brand, digital products, intellectual property, real estate, investments, or skills that scale beyond one-to-one time exchange. And this shift in thinking moves a person from survival mode into ownership mode. When someone focuses only on income, they often increase lifestyle as income increases, which creates pressure to keep earning more just to maintain the same standard of living. But when someone focuses on building assets, they begin to channel surplus income into things that create future cash flow, influence, leverage, and optionality, slowly replacing dependence on a single source of income with multiple streams that can grow in the background. Ownership also changes decision-making because assets reward patience, discipline, and long-term thinking, while paychecks reward short-term output, and this difference reshapes habits around spending, learning, and risk, as the person starts to see money as a tool to acquire engines of value rather than a reward to be consumed. Over time, compounding becomes the silent partner in this process, because small, consistent investments into assets can expand exponentially through reinvestment, network effects, and experience, while linear income remains capped by hours and energy, which explains why many high earners still feel financially fragile, while some owners with modest beginnings build durable wealth. This mindset also encourages building or acquiring things that solve problems at scale, creating value for many people at once, which naturally attracts money as a byproduct of usefulness rather than constant hustle. And this internal shift from being a worker of money to being an owner of value changes identity, confidence, and long-term trajectory, shaping choices about where to invest attention, time, and resources in everyday life. Rich people buy freedom, poor people buy comfort means the way money is used today shapes the level of control and options a person has tomorrow. And this difference in spending behavior creates two very different futures, even when incomes are similar. Buying comfort focuses on immediate pleasure and convenience, choosing things that make the present moment easier or more enjoyable, but do little to change long-term circumstances, such as upgrading lifestyle too early, chasing status items, or spending to escape discomfort. Why? Without addressing the root causes of financial pressure. Buying freedom, in contrast, means using money to reduce future dependency, increase options, and expand control over time, which often looks uncomfortable in the short term because it involves delaying gratification, choosing investments over indulgences, and accepting temporary sacrifice for permanent leverage. Freedom is created when your expenses are covered by assets, skills, or systems that do not require your constant presence. So each decision to direct money toward ownership, learning, or scalable value is a vote for future autonomy rather than short-term relief. Comfort spending tends to create habits of consumption that quietly raise fixed costs, locking a person into needing consistent income just to maintain their lifestyle, while freedom-focused spending prioritizes flexibility, mobility, and the ability to say no to work that drains energy or values. The psychological difference is powerful because comfort seeking often comes from a desire to avoid stress, insecurity, or comparison, while freedom seeking comes from a desire to design one's life intentionally, choosing where time goes, who to work with, and what problems to solve. And this inner motive shapes how risks are evaluated and how setbacks are handled. Over time, the person who buys freedom develops resilience because their security is diversified across skills, assets, and opportunities, whereas the person who buys comfort remains vulnerable to shocks like job loss, health issues, or economic downturns, since their spending has built dependencies instead of buffers. This principle does not argue against enjoying life, but it highlights timing and direction, encouraging enjoyment to grow from a foundation of independence rather than using consumption as a substitute for progress. And this orientation gradually shifts daily choices toward building a life that is chosen rather than endured. Your money should work harder than you do means shifting from a life where every dollar you earn depends on your ongoing effort to a system where each dollar becomes a worker that continues producing value on your behalf, expanding your capacity beyond the limits of time and energy. When money is only used for consumption, it performs one task and disappears. But when it is directed into assets, systems, or opportunities, it can generate returns repeatedly, multiplying the impact of your original effort and reducing the pressure to constantly trade hours for income. This way of thinking transforms saving from a passive habit into an active strategy, because saved money is not meant to sit idle but to be positioned where it can grow through ownership, productivity, and leverage, whether through businesses, skill development that scales, revenue-producing platforms, or investments that benefit from compounding. The discipline lies in separating emotion from financial decisions, choosing to allocate capital based on long-term value rather than short-term excitement, which builds a structure where small, consistent contributions accumulate momentum over time, often in ways that feel slow at first but accelerate as reinvestment and experience stack. As money begins to work, it creates optionality, meaning choices expand because future income becomes less dependent on immediate labor, allowing better decisions around career, creativity, health, and family, since financial pressure no longer dictates every move. This principle also reshapes how setbacks are viewed, because losses or slow periods become part of a longer compounding cycle rather than proof of failure, encouraging patience and learning instead of impulsive reactions that interrupt growth. The deeper shift is identity level, where a person starts to see themselves not just as a worker earning wages, but as a builder of systems that create value over time, which naturally leads to investing in processes, automation, and assets that can operate with less direct involvement. Over time, this orientation reduces burnout because effort is front-loaded into building engines of return rather than endlessly repeated for the same output, and it fosters a sense of control over one's financial trajectory, replacing the anxiety of linear income with the steadier confidence that comes from having money continuously engaged in creating more value. Delayed gratification creates accelerated wealth, means the willingness to postpone immediate pleasure in favor of long-term benefit compounds, results in ways that feel slow at first but later move with surprising speed, because every choice to wait strengthens future leverage and reduces dependence on short-term rewards. When someone consistently chooses instant comfort, spending, or validation, they train their mind to prioritize now over later, which fragments focus and weakens the ability to commit to long-term goals. But when they practice delaying gratification, they build the internal discipline required to invest time, money, and energy into paths that mature over years rather than days. This habit changes how opportunities are evaluated, because short-term gains that look attractive lose their power when weighed against durable progress, allowing a person to choose learning over distraction, ownership over consumption, and preparation over impulse. The compounding effect is psychological as well as financial, since each act of restraint reinforces self-trust and strengthens the capacity to stay consistent through boredom, uncertainty, and slow progress, which are the hidden barriers that stop most people long before results appear. Over time, this consistency creates momentum, as small, repeated investments into skills, assets, and systems accumulate experience, networks, and leverage that multiply future returns, making progress appear sudden to outsiders, even though it was built quietly through years of patient effort. Delayed gratification also reshapes lifestyle design by lowering fixed costs and reducing the pressure to earn constantly just to sustain comfort, freeing up resources to be redirected toward growth and opportunity rather than maintenance. This principle does not deny enjoyment but reframes timing, encouraging enjoyment to be the outcome of stability and autonomy rather than a substitute for progress, which preserves motivation without creating dependency on consumption for emotional relief. As patience becomes a practiced skill, decision-making becomes calmer and more strategic, less reactive to trends, fear, or comparison, and this steady approach aligns daily actions with long-term outcomes, creating a widening gap between effort invested today and the accelerated results experienced in the future. Clear financial purpose multiplies income into assets means that money follows intention, and without a defined direction, income tends to leak into random spending that creates motion without progress. While with a clear purpose, each dollar becomes a deliberate step toward ownership and leverage. When a person knows exactly why they want wealth and what kind of life they are building, financial decisions gain structure. Because spending, saving, and investing are filtered through a long-term vision instead of short-term emotion, which prevents drift and impulsive choices that quietly drain potential. Purpose provides a framework for prioritization, making it easier to say no to distractions, unnecessary upgrades, and social pressure, because those choices are evaluated against a personal mission rather than external expectations. This clarity transforms income from a reward into a resource, shifting the mindset from earning to acquire comforts into earning to acquire engines of value, which leads to intentional allocation toward assets, skill development, systems, and opportunities that align with the desired future. Over time, this alignment compounds because repeated purpose-driven choices reinforce habits of ownership, learn, in reinvestment, creating a feedback loop where growing assets strengthen belief in the process, which further sharpens discipline and consistency. Clear purpose also stabilizes behavior during volatility, because when markets, income, or circumstances fluctuate, the person anchored to a long-term aim is less likely to panic or abandon strategy, viewing short-term setbacks as temporary noise within a larger trajectory. Psychologically, purpose reduces decision fatigue, as fewer choices need emotional debate when the direction is already defined, conserving energy for execution and growth rather than constant reconsideration. This orientation encourages building assets that serve a coherent life design, not just chasing opportunities that look profitable in isolation, which reduces scattered effort and increases the probability that different investments support and amplify each other. As intention and action stay aligned over time, income stops being consumed by momentary desires and begins to be converted into structures that produce future value, slowly replacing randomness with direction and turning financial activity into a compounding system of ownership and leverage. Habits decide wealth more than luck means that the repeated ordinary choices a person makes each day quietly shape their financial trajectory far more powerfully than rare moments of opportunity or chance, because consistency compounds while randomness fades. Luck can create a temporary lift, but without supportive habits, gains are often mismanaged, spent impulsively, or lost through poor decisions, while strong habits can turn modest opportunities into lasting progress by directing attention, money, and energy toward growth rather than distraction. Daily behaviors around learning, saving, investing, tracking expenses, improving skills, and managing time build an invisible structure that determines how well a person can recognize and use opportunities when they appear, because preparation sharpens perception and discipline sustains momentum. Over time, these habits create a compounding advantage, as small, repeated improvements in decision-making lead to better outcomes, which reinforce confidence and further strengthen constructive routines, while neglectful habits quietly compound in the opposite direction, increasing stress, reactivity, and dependence on external rescue. This principle highlights personal agency, emphasizing that while circumstances and starting points differ, the direction of movement is shaped by what is practiced daily, and even small upgrades in habit quality can shift long-term results in meaningful ways. Habits also regulate emotional responses to money, training patience during slow periods and restraint during high points, which protects against impulsive swings that derail progress, and this emotional stability supports better long-term planning and execution. The environment a person designs around themselves further reinforces habits, as routines, cues, and social influences can either support disciplined behavior or undermine it, making intentional design of surroundings a quiet but powerful factor in wealth creation. Over time, these repeated patterns form identity. As the person begins to see themselves as a builder, saver, investor, or learner, and this self-concept naturally guides future choices without constant willpower, shaping a financial path that is resilient, adaptive, and steadily upward. All six truths lead to one reality. Wealth is not an accident, it is a design. When you choose assets over paychecks, freedom over comfort, systems over struggle, patience over impulse, purpose over randomness, and habits over luck, you stop waiting for life to change and start building the life you want. Every dollar you direct with intention becomes a brick in the future you are constructing, and every disciplined choice, no matter how small, compounds into strength over time. This is how ordinary people create extraordinary outcomes, not by chasing money, but by building value, ownership, and control over their direction. Good luck on your journey to building real wealth and real freedom. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and keep believing in the future you're creating. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, and remember to follow for daily motivation and powerful mindset shifts to help you build assets, not just income.